Hi everyone, good afternoon. We will start very soon once everyone settles in, yeah? Okay, I think majority have already come in, so we can begin now. So good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome for all of you joining us today. I believe some of you are very familiar with the European residency option. For others, this might be the first time you are hearing about this program. This webinar will explain to you about how you can use the Portugal Golden Visa pathway as an entry point or gateway for you to live, work, or study in all other 27 European countries that you prefer. So this means you do not need to move or live in Portugal if you do not wish to, but basically fulfill a very minimal residency of 7 days a year, or basically 14 days every 2 years. And this ease of residence is what makes it very convenient, especially for many who need to remain in your home country, but still have the privilege of residency in Europe. What's even more attractive is this program allows you to invest into a real estate. So the Portugal Golden Visa is very straightforward, whereby you buy a property in Portugal, earn a guaranteed rental income potentially, okay, visit 14 days every 2 years if you want to, and every 5 years, and after 5 years, eventually you get to access all the 27 European countries. That's how easy it is. You will learn more later. This visa also comes with a reasonable investment amount as low as 280,000 euro. And due to the overwhelming response, the top locations like Lisbon and Porto will close its doors beginning January 2022. So you basically have the last 2 months or less left if you wish to obtain your golden visa through an investment in Lisbon or Porto. So more details will be covered in this webinar. We will have an interesting dialogue session at the end, and we welcome any questions as well. So before we start, I would just like to run through about our company and speakers for today. So Global Migration Solutions, we are a licensed migration advisory firm, and we are known to be a company that offers premier migration advisory services. Next. And we have 16 years of experience with a 99% success record and have helped more than 12,000 families migrate. We have presence over 5 offices across Asia Pacific, which is in Australia, Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, and Vietnam. And we're also very happy to share that we have received multiple awards from U Global Immigration Magazine consecutively. Next. This is actually the award that we recently obtained. So Desmond is the registered migration agent for Global Migration Solutions, and he is the only agent in Malaysia who has obtained this international award. Next. These are the programs that we carry. We are the pioneers in Australia and New Zealand migration program. And for our investment line, we have also, we have Portugal, US, and Canada. Next. Here's the lineup of our speakers for today. The first speaker would be Desmond Ang. He's the Managing Director and Founder of Global Migration Solutions. Desmond, would you like to say hi?
Hi, everybody. Please meeting everybody, every one of you. Thank you.
He's also the licensed migration advisor for Australia and New Zealand. Desmond has extensive experience in handling various migration programs in his 17 years of experience. Our second speaker would be Antonio. Antonio, would you like to just say hi?
Hi, hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Antonio is our Portugal immigration lawyer and senior partner of AFCO Legal based in Lisbon. And Antonio has been wonderfully handling the Golden Visa cases for our clients. He has 20 years of experience in legal work and migration advisory. He has great expertise with the Portugal immigration program and is very assuring to work with someone as well versed with Antonio. The third person for today would be Jamie. Jamie, would you like to say hi?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for your time today. And we'll be more than happy to share with you a lot of interesting points about the program. Thanks.
Thanks, Jamie, for joining us. Jamie is the Managing Director of Intergentium Asia. Jamie's area of support and expertise is to provide suitable real estate opportunities for investors to qualify for the Golden Visa or any other investment options. We've been working very closely with Jamie and have always been impressed with the attractive investment solutions she's able to bring to our clients all the time. Okay, so these are the three experts who will be speaking today, and I'm trust it's going to be a very beneficial session. We're going to keep it as concise as possible on the slides so that we can move on to the dialogue, which is going to be very, very informative and interactive. Okay, so over to you, Desmond.
Thank you, Audrey. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again this afternoon. And I'm excited to share with you this Portugal Golden Visa. And the fact that this visa has become very, very popular among Asians, to a certain extent, that includes people from United States. And let's look at it quickly on how these programs runs. Now, just for an idea, this Portugal Golden Visa is an investment for residency programs. And what does it mean? So in exchange of your investment, you're given rights to live, work, and study in Portugal. And the moment when your visa is granted, your children are enjoying the education benefits from primary and secondary school for free. And should they going to start the university, the benefits will kick in 2 years later. Now, you and your family member also do have an access to the healthcare. So this is really important. And I would suggest that you do some research and find out a little bit more on especially how, the healthcare system and works and support available during this whole pandemic. Portugal has came up as the top country, in the whole entire European regions in terms of the whole entire management of the pandemic. Now, with this visa, you and your family member do have the freedom and access to all the Schengen area, and which that includes 27 countries in total. And that also gives you an options to obtain a citizenship at the end of the 5 years. Yeah, and that is going to give you and your family member a wider options, not just Portugal, but being able to live, work, and study, in the 27 countries, which is at the end of the 5 years. And under this Portugal Golden Visa, it is important for you to take notes, and I wish to highlight that you will be able to enjoy the non-habitual residency programs. And under these programs, that you have the 10 years periods where your overseas income will enjoy a much reduced tax rate. Yeah. So this is an overview on what is the entitlement and the benefits of the Portugal Golden Visa for you and your family member. Now, one thing worth highlighting from the beginning is these visa programs require you to spend a very minimum of 7 days per year on average over the first 5 years. Of course, you do also have an options to even spend 14 days, on a single trips over a period of 2 years. So relatively, as compared to many other programs, you will be able to, to tell that this residency is relatively really, really low. Okay, now the next slide, I would like to share with you what happens after the 5 years. Yeah, let's look into that now. So you do have an option after the 5 years to become a PR or choose to become a citizen of Portugal. Now, this is always the end game to most of our clients and the people who's applying under the Portugal Golden Visa, because they may or may not be necessarily looking at moving to Portugal, but the Portugal has been seen as a good, or the best entry point for them to access to the 27 countries in the whole entire European region. To be precise, it's the whole entire Schengen area. Yeah. So imagine when you take up, the citizenship of Portuguese, and your children could choose to study at any of the 27 countries, which includes the tertiary education. So that also gives you the flexibility to also enjoy the free healthcare, from the 27 countries, depending on where you are living. Yeah. And of course, the freedom to move within the area, and it comes with the voting rights as well. So especially during this pandemic, and if you do have children studying there, or you do have business, business opportunity, or you have business already currently involved with the European regions, then you may need this visa, in the future for you to facilitate the travel if the borders continue to close. Yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty. So, but that says, the needs of having this visa will be, having this visa will be able to address all these travel restrictions that are currently imposed. Now, when we talk about these 27 countries, these are all the countries that are covered under these programs. So which includes Ireland, and there are a couple of clients with the children who is intending to study medicine in Ireland. Do take note that these programs would allow your children to study in Ireland with a reduced subsidized rate. Yeah, so this is a quick overview, and I'm going to pass the floor over to Antonio for him to walk you through more detail about these programs. Antonio, over to you, please.
Thank you, Desmond. Once again, good afternoon, everyone. I will be walking you through, in my presentation, the main characteristics, the main benefits of the Portuguese Golden Visa Program. It was introduced in 2012 and has enjoyed a very, very good run so far, and has attracted people from all over the world. And its main benefit is, of course, allowing its holders to hold a visa-free travel title to not only live in Portugal, but also be able to travel throughout the Schengen area, again, without the need for any visas, and in the long run, to opt to Portuguese citizenship. In terms of program requirements, of course, the main applicant needs to be 18 years of age or older. You can reunify family members up to 3 generations. You must, of course, produce a clean criminal record. Health insurance is not required unless you actually plan on moving into Portugal. Naturally, this being a residency-by-investment program, you need to transfer the money for your investment. You need, of course, to choose one of the available investment options. Visit Portugal on an average of 7 days per year during these first 5 years, and maintain your investment during 5 years. You can, of course, maintain it in the longer run, if that is your option, or if you wish to transition into permanent residency or citizenship in the future after 5 years, of course, you may do so. What does the process look like? Of course, we would kick things off by establishing an initial consultation, learning about your needs, your goals. Then we would take care of the document collection. We would draft the powers of attorney and any translations. Thirdly, we would obtain a tax number for you, as this is necessary if you're buying a property. Of course, and taxes come into play, you will need a tax number, and even to open the bank account, which is the next step, that would also be of importance. Fourthly, we would look into your investment options, which is your preferred option, and then of course transfer the funds into your Portuguese account. So it's very important that these funds do not come directly from your account in whichever country you're located or whichever country your bank account is in, but rather you have to transfer this to your Portuguese bank account. Then we would take care of the purchase process of your property, should you wish to go with the purchase property option, and have it registered. Following which, we would then start with the procedure to submit your Golden Visa application, and we would wait for pre-approval, which takes it roughly 2 to 3 months. Finally, once we have that pre-approval, we can book your appointment to come over to Portugal. We will schedule for your biometrics and submit the final collection of documents. Once that has been done, we will wait for a number of months, following which the approval will come through and the card will be issued. So each card has a validity of 2 years, 3 cards overall, 2 + 2 + 2. And that means that during the last card, you can enjoy the benefits of the Golden Visa up until the end of the 6th year. So while you're waiting for your property, for your permanent residency to be processed or your citizenship application to be processed, you still enjoy 1 extra year. Okay, so during each 2-year period, you would visit Portugal for 14 days, and these 14 days you can spend them in one go or break them up during those 2 years. And during the 5th final year, just spend 7 days. Again, as mentioned, the Golden Visa Program, you need to stay within the program for 5 years. During this time, you can live, work, and study in Portugal. You must keep your investment and, of course, comply with the minimum stay requirement. Once you have completed your 5th year, you can go either to permanent residency or to citizenship. What is the difference? With permanent residency, you can live, work, and study in Portugal. You can still, of course, travel freely through the Schengen area, stay up to 90 days in every 180 days, but you cannot live permanently in any other EU country. With citizenship, that changes because once you become an EU citizen, you can actually live, work, and study in any EU country. And of course, you can sell off your investment. Which are the options that we would be looking at and which are available for you currently? The most popular option, without a shadow of a doubt, is investment in real estate. So you can buy 1 or more properties in anywhere in Portugal for a combined value of 500,000 euro, or in areas with a low density of population, you get a 20% discount. So that threshold falls to 400,000. You may also choose a refurbishment project, meaning that the cost of the property plus the cost of the refurbishment itself must reach a minimum of 350,000 euro. Now, this isn't any property that can be refurbished. It has to be at least 30 years old or located in a specific area as defined by the relevant council. With this option, you also get a 20% discount should you choose to invest in the areas of a low density of population. So that would be 280,000 euro. Venture capital funds, that I would say is the second most preferred option, and you can invest in specific funds which are approved by the Portuguese Securities Exchange Commission, and you would need to invest 350,000 euro. You may also choose the bank deposit option, whereby you place 1 million euro in a bank deposit or invest 1 million euro in Portuguese bonds. And if you are of the entrepreneur type, as long as you create 10 permanent jobs and you decide to establish yourself and create a business in Portugal, with this option, you are also eligible. So just to summarize the different residency stages, the first card is valid for 2 years, and the processing fee is 533 euro, and the initial cost is 5,300 euro. And this is both for the main applicant and also for family members. Second card, years 3 and 4, exactly the same thing, same processing fee, but the card itself is 50% of the initial cost. So despite what you see on the screen, it's actually 2,600 euro, okay? And the third and final card, years 5 and 6, exactly the same as the the second card. So processing fee of 533 euro and the cost of the card 2,600. So when you add it up, it comes to about 12,000 euro per person, and that includes 12,000 euro for the main applicant, 12,000 euro for any family member. Again, after year 5, you may choose to become a permanent resident or apply for citizenship. If you decide to embark on the property option, you will of course be paying certain taxes, as would be expected. These are one-off costs, and some of them are paid annually. In terms of these one-off costs, we would have transfer tax and stamp duty. It usually comes to about 7.3%. Between 7 and 8% overall of the purchase price. In terms of annual cost, we would have the council tax, and council tax is levied on not the purchase price, but on the much lower taxable value of the property. And this is assessed, of course, by the tax authorities. The rate ranges from 0.3 to 0.45%. Then, should you wish to make money on your investment, which you are allowed to do, you can lease your property, and you would be looking at either long-term lease, and here your rent is 28%, or short-term lease, and the rates for short-term lease, meaning Airbnb style of renting or leasing, is 8.75%. So overall, it makes a lot of sense also from a tax point of view. Portugal does not have wealth tax. Portugal does not have gift and inheritance tax. And as we've seen, a very low rate for short-term income tax. And all of this buying properties that are freehold, that are yours to keep in perpetuity, and that you can sell to anyone, national or foreign, after year 5. You might have heard that the Golden Visa Program has suffered some changes which will come into effect as of January 1st next year. And the main changes are, number 1, for property investments. The main cities, the more populated cities and coastal areas, real estate investment for residential properties are excluded. You may still invest in these areas for commercial properties. Okay, so that's the difference. The fund option, the threshold has been raised or will be raised from 350,000 euro to 500,000 euro. And the capital transfer route, which we saw earlier, the deposit in a bank account, the purchase of Portuguese bonds, etc., that would also be raised from 1 million euro to 1.5 million. Okay. So overall, it's a good time, should you wish to embark on the program, to actually get a head start as soon as possible before these changes are implemented. And that's all for me right now. I'll be happy to take on any questions later on. And I will just pass the baton to Jamie, who will explain to you all the many wonders of Portugal. Thank you very much.
Hi, thank you, Antonio. I'm actually very excited about sharing more about some of the investment options that we have and how we can actually assist. But before that, I think what's important for one to decide before investing into any other country is actually how friendly is the country from an foreign investor perspective. And the video that I'm going to show you very quickly actually just tells you some of the main reasons why people are so interested in investing in Portugal. And thereafter that, I will elaborate a little bit more points on more specifics and details. Thank you.
In an increasingly globalized world, how does a country stand out? This is a country made of land and sea, a crossroad between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, a link between cultures and continents. This is the homeland of talented people, a founding member of the Euro, a gateway to a market of 500 million people. This is the home of a world leader in fast and ultra-fast chargers for electric vehicles. A country that produces more than half of its energy out of renewable sources. A privileged partner for innovation. Every day, more and more companies come to work and think with us. We also produce cars, but above all, we think cars. Think the green road ahead of us, and think the future. Innovation is taking the country to new frontiers. This is the world's biggest cork producer, transforming cork for the most traditional and revolutionary uses. From the top of the most precious wine bottles in the world to thermal shields and rockets and spaceships destined for space. This is a leading tourist destination in the world. A competitive and sustainable location. A top country in providing technological services. Host of great international events integrated in some of the most important value chains in the world. That attracts and keeps some of the most talented people. So how does a country stand out in an increasingly globalized world? Well, I guess it's by welcoming the world and bridging cultures. Portugal, talented and welcoming.
So I'd like to give credit basically for ASAP for such a wonderful video that was made about Portugal. For some of you who don't know, I also wanted to add a little bit of introduction and background intro about myself. I myself actually am in my 4th year of Golden Visa. In fact, I'm actually due to go to Portugal to renew my final card of my temporary residency. And I actually invested into the country 5 years ago. And because of all the wonderful reasons that you've seen just now in the video, was actually one of the main reasons why I actually went there. But most importantly, I think was the feel when I had the chance to travel then, that actually Portugal was very welcoming in terms of foreign investors. It was definitely very peaceful and hence voted the third most peaceful country after Iceland and New Zealand. And also English is also very widely spoken, so it was very easy to get around. In fact, if you look at the statistics in terms of the number of Portuguese actually speak English is as many as Malaysians or even Singaporeans. And the other thing that I really like about the country as well, they have a lot of other attractive advantages, such as the healthcare is actually ranked even before UK, being 12th in the world in terms of having the best healthcare. And as I mentioned, because of the English as well, has made it so easy for them to actually have a lot of migrants and also investors who have decided to actually relocate and live there if they wanted to. Hence, Forbes actually listed Portugal as one of the top places for residency and also for a second passport. The passport itself, once you are a Portuguese citizen, you choose that option, will also place you as having one of the 5th most powerful passport in the world, because it will allow you to access 186 countries actually visa free. And this includes places like even the US or Canada, whereby, we don't even need to apply for visas anymore in order to enter some of these countries. And the other thing that, as you can see also from the video, it's also very attractive from a foreign investment point of view, because also of the relative low cost of living as compared to the other European countries. And also the minimum wage is also very low at about 600 euros. And that's why you can see a lot of manufacturers and a lot of factories basically have actually, they mostly do OEM manufacturing for a lot of companies in Europe itself. And Portugal basically is the hub for that. The other thing is Portugal, in terms of just touristic destination, is also one of the top destinations in Europe because of the wonderful weather that Portugal has. It is literally like the Bali of Europe, and a lot of people actually go there to enjoy the great weather and also the great food, and most importantly, the friendly people and friendly faces. The next question as well, most of the time people ask for those who are considering the Golden Visa is, how would this benefit my children should they want to study in Portugal? Now, as Desmond earlier elaborated, that if one would consider getting the citizenship, that will actually open up and allow you to study for free in the 27 countries in some of the public institutions. But if not, if you just wanted to, even at the Portuguese Golden Visa stage, you can actually enjoy a lot of other benefits by joining their local education program. And some of the very interesting education system is actually the fact that they are part of the Erasmus program, which actually allows them to have a partner school for the last year. So it's a twinning. So you do 2 years in Portugal and 1 year in the twinning partner school of your choice. And as you can see from the map where the blue dots are, it ranges all the way, not only in Europe, but also in US, in Canada, and also in Australia. You can actually just pay a local fee rate and do the exchange program with some of their global partners. Or you can even look at doing double degree programs and save up to almost $500,000 ringgit with a partner University of San Diego. And these are actually some of the very important points that one can consider just only as a Golden Visa temporary resident. You can actually really enjoy such benefits from their education system, which is also ranked one of the top places to study abroad. Now, of course, the other thing that's also important to note is, in addition to the education, also the graduation and also the reduced fees, what is also important, I think, for one to consider is the fact that your children, after going through the education, will also be able to access the workforce in Europe. And they don't need to actually, if they do choose the citizenship option, they can choose to actually continue working overseas without needing a work permit. And this will actually open the gateway and doors for them to many, many, many more opportunities in that sense. Now, in terms of growth of foreign investment, I think it's not just about talk. I think PwC report and also EY report has actually strongly recommended that actually there has been a strong growth in the Portuguese economy. But despite the pandemic itself, in fact, the property prices have still been going up. And actually the Portuguese Golden Visa is not a big proportion of the buyers of the real estate in Portugal. A lot of the buyers are still the locals and also the Europeans who are actually doing it primarily for investment or also for relocation. I wanted to touch on some of the portfolio of investment options that one can consider. As Antonio elaborated earlier on, you can actually look at options of fund investments, which we actually have a portfolio of about 20 funds. And if you'd like to have some analysis and discussions about this, we can also go through the options with you. If you prefer the real estate route, which is actually right now still eligible and also represents about 90% of the Golden Visa investments, then you may actually want to consider some of the 350,000 rehabilitation investment route. Now, I wanted to share a little bit more that that the rehabilitation route we have actually done very detailed due diligence to ensure that these properties actually fall under the 350,000 category, and this is actually necessary, and that's why we are very happy to come up with a portfolio, and also will explain to you if we ever do have a private consultation how we actually arrive at such projects. So just to give you a bit of a brief of the projects that we represent, most of the projects actually we actually sell in are actually in Lisbon, because Lisbon still represents one of the highest opportunities in terms of rental yields as well as capital appreciation. And one of the most famous streets that we actually benchmark our projects on is actually on Avenida Liberdade, which is where you can see on this slide itself, where it is the Champs-Élysées or the Orchard Road equivalent in Portugal. And the project that we have is only about 1.5 kilometers away. This project is actually close to everything, comes with lift and parking, and it's also under the 350,000 category, has a beautiful unobstructed view, and it's basically accessible towards the historical city as well as the central business district, which is actually just a few minutes away. So this project itself, it has been very popular, and we'll show you a quick video after the presentation. Now, for those who are not so much into residential properties, one can also consider the options of having a commercial lot. Now, commercial properties are still allowable under the Golden Visa ruling. And so far, we've seen that there are not many commercial lots actually available within the 350,000 category. And this is actually one of the projects that we have, which is also only within minutes away to the Avenida Liberdade itself, which actually comes with a rental guarantee for 5 years as well. The other option that you want to consider for those who wanted bigger units is also in another area, which is what we call in Grassa. Grassa is also in another, so Lisbon is actually surrounded by 7 hills, and Grassa is actually located in one of the 7 hills. It comes with a beautiful view, and there are a lot of French who actually settled in the area. And this project itself has really nice 2 bedrooms if you're interested in a bigger unit for investment. And it's also under the 350,000 category. We also have another project which is also close by to another central to the central business district. It's also called the Patea de Barão in Alameda itself, which is also one of the sought after places, and it comes with a 5-year rental guarantee. If clients are more interested in products that are already completed, because once it's completed, then it's no longer eligible under the 350,000 category, because one of the criteria that will require you to be eligible is that the property has not been renovated in the last 30 years. So this property itself, it's already completed. It's under the 500,000 category in Príncipe Real, which has been voted one of the, by Time Out, as one of the coolest neighborhoods to invest in. And we do have a project in this area. And also in another up-and-coming area as well called the Alcantara. We have LX55 as well for those who are interested to relocate. We have bigger units that you can consider in this area as well under the 500,000 category. And also Arriero Select itself, which is also located at the gateway and entrance to the historical city of Lisbon. Now, these are just some of the properties that we showed you in the historical area of Lisbon. Now, there are some clients who actually say, I need to have a huge units. I just can't foresee myself living in an apartment. And if they really want to relocate there and want to be within, let's say, a golf course or something, then this is also one of the projects that we have, which is in the Palmera village itself, which is about very close by to Lisbon. We call it more or less in the greater Lisbon area. Alternatively, if you feel as though that your funds are not ready for you to do any investments due to the legislation changes by end of this year, then one can actually consider as well our 280,000 projects. Our 280,000 projects, we have one actually which is located near Compota, which is called Alcacer de Sal itself, which is right by the Sado River itself. This is also a very sizable project whereby the phase 2 was just recently launched. And it's only an hour away from Lisbon on the way to the other parts of the cities in Portugal. Now, of course, under the 280,000 scheme, also we have a lot of success in Évora, which is actually the capital of Alentejo. Alentejo is actually one of the 2 wine regions in Portugal itself. And this particular area, because in the interior area as well, allows you to actually apply for a Golden Visa under the 280,000 scheme. Basically, you're buying a villa within a villa, very similar to a Bali concept in Portugal. So this is just towards the east, towards Spain, and it's actually halfway and about an hour away from Lisbon. Again, we'll be more than happy to share more details with you about the projects through a private consultation, and we will be able to share with you the pros and cons amongst the projects and the yields and the ROI, because I think it is necessary for an investor to invest into a product that is also suitable towards their risk appetite and also their investment profile. So I think that's something that we would normally like to do after the webinar today, to understand what are your requirements in that aspect. Last but not least, I'm going to play a video actually of our most and recent project and most popular project, which is called Auric Door, which is actually the first project I showed you under the 350,000 category that is eligible for both short-term and long-term rentals. Thank you.
Thank you, JB. And thank you, Antonio, again, from sharing how the Golden Visa transits to PR, to citizen, and the various investment options. And I guess there are a couple of questions that are coming up for us. Audrey, would you run through the question, please? Thank you.
Sure. First of all, thanks all of you, Desmond, Antonio, and Jamie, for the very quick presentation. So we've come to the second segment now, which is the dialogue and the questions. So the first question, I guess, Desmond, is going to be for you. The residency is always a very important consideration for the applicant. So you mentioned about the 7 days of residence for this program, and that actually sounds very encouraging for those who are not ready to make the move yet. So what are the other requirements to maintain this residency status, Desmond?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think I agree with the residency, the requirements of the residency should comes as one of the important consideration to decide whether this program is suitable for you and your family member. There are programs where the residency, the majority of the time needs to be spent on the countries that you have applied to become a PR or citizen, such as Australia, for example, that require relatively 50% of your time, whereas this Portugal Golden Visa, to a certain extent, would require you to spend just a very minimum of 14 days over the 2 years. And this is very, very encouraging, especially for those who has not yet decided if they will to be moving in the short or in the near future. So these programs, again, is a very straightforward programs. Beside the residency, as we started off, when we introduced these programs and we said this is an investment for residency programs, that says there is an investment required. You must even, before applying for this visa, that investment has to be executed. Yeah, so you must be ready for your investment in order for you to apply for this golden visa. So it is an investment plus the residency plus free from criminals that allows you to maintain your residency for a period of 2 + 2 + 2, in total 6 years. Yeah, but for the Portugal Golden Visa, the requirement is just really for 5 years. There is extra 1 year for you to decide if you're going into a PR or citizen. Yeah, so it's very straightforward. These are the only requirements. Yeah, thank you.
On the topic of the GV itself, Desmond, apart from the Portugal GV, there's also the Spain GV, the Greece Golden Visa, for example. Are you able to share how are the residency requirements for these programs? And is Portugal very competitive as compared to this program? Basically, how would you just want to compare the Portugal GV to the Spain and Greece GV?
Sure, this is a very good question, and I guess I have been asked again and again over the times on how do they decide and know that this Portugal Golden Visa is the best programs or is the suitable programs for them. Well, I think there are based upon certain numbers, it explains why Portugal Golden Visa is so popular. In fact, if you look at the processing time, the Portugal Golden Visa takes relatively slightly longer compared to others in the region, such as Greece, Spain, from Italy, Malta, Cyprus. So, the demand for this Portugal Golden Visa, again, is extremely high as compared to others. Not only because the requirements of this visa is very flexible, yeah, and importantly, the conversion from the PR to citizen is also very straightforward. So it allows, with the 7 days or 14 days of residency and 5 years of golden visa status, that would qualify for the visa holder to consider to become a citizen. So as compared to other programs, for example, like what you have just asked, Spain, for example, Greece, for example, there are programs that require them to spend at least 6 months in a year as compared to 14 days in a year. So if you're not ready to go over yet, definitely those programs won't be suitable for you. Yeah. And then when it comes to the investment, under Portugal, the requirements is just to maintain it for 5 years. And after which, if should you decided to move elsewhere and you wanted to exit from your investment in Portugal, you may do so. Whereas, for example, Greece, you may have to maintain up to 10 years, for example. And that relatively is much longer compared to Portugal. So that explains why Portugal has been the most popular programs in the region. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Desmond. I'm going to pick another question from the audience. This is in relation to the euro 1 million put in fixed deposit in a bank for 5 years. What interest does the bank pay, or whether they can invest into a government bond for 5 years? Perhaps Antonio or Jamie, you can help with this question.
Yes, well, they won't get much return in terms of deposit because Euribor being quite low, you generally would not expect great returns. Government bonds, that might get you a little higher up in terms of potential yields. But again, not that much. It's easy, it's convenient, it's no fuss, very little paperwork, of course. So if you just want to park your money there, it's a good option. It's just that it's not the one with the greatest yields.
Antonio, there's a related question. Is it possible to just only open a bank account in Portugal, and what is the prevalent FD interest rate? Would you have any idea?
Yes, if you want to open an account in Portugal, you may do so, of course. And generally, even the what they call savings accounts, you would only, at best, maybe see, I don't know, 1.5% for a limited period of time. So that's why, for investment purposes, there are much better options. Of course, real estate, of course, the funds itself, than just opening a savings account or just depositing or parking your money there. If you have spare money, then, well, of course, please do. It's again a very easy, no fuss way to secure your golden visa, but it's just not the one with the higher yield.
Sure. Thank you, Antonio. So real estate is still a better option, yeah? So Jamie, perhaps you can share with us what is the current real estate climate in Portugal?
The real estate climate has been really good. I think Portugal has had a really good run. Despite the pandemic, as I showcased in the earlier slides, they still experience a double-digit growth. There has been actually a big driver also in terms of people who are relocating to Portugal. I think after going through the pandemic, I think some people actually really appreciate the healthcare, the level of healthcare, and also the lifestyle that they get in Portugal. And the fact that they have such low tax rates and so on has encouraged a lot of the Europeans actually to relocate there, to have better sun, lower cost of living. And recently, actually, there was a big rush of since early this year, actually, amongst the British, actually, because they have just recently opened up the Golden Visa for British due to Brexit. So there's a big rush of them coming in because they want to continue doing businesses with Europe and so on. So there has been a big rush amongst the British. They always have been a strong investor in Portugal, regardless, but even more so this year. And there has been actually a large number of Americans who have also been investing and relocating and retiring in Portugal because of the lower taxation. So all this actually have contributed to increase real estate prices. Hence, we are still confident because there are only X amount of units within the historical area, and we believe that the investments in the key zones, primarily zone 1, will still be yielding good returns, as long as one is a little bit mindful about the areas which are growing and do not overpay for their properties. That's where we actually come in to show them all the different reports and the valuations and so on in order to assist them. I think the real estate landscape is still worth considering to invest, as I mentioned, because the Golden Visa investors just represent a minority of people who are actually investing in Portugal.
Sure. Thank you, JP. Okay, Antonio, I'd like to discuss a little bit more on this because the ease of obtaining the Portugal citizenship is actually really seen as a golden ticket that opens the golden visa holder to the rest of the 27 European countries. Do you mind to comment on this, please?
Well, in fact, that is the case because, as mentioned earlier, you only need to spend a very limited amount of time over the 5 years, after which, if you, of course, keep a clean criminal record, if you can prove minimum knowledge in the Portuguese language because there is a test, or if you can somehow prove that you've reached that level before, it's an A2 level, very basic level of Portuguese, then you are eligible for Portuguese citizenship. Now, it's also important to stress that Portugal allows full dual citizenship. So there are no concerns on the Portuguese side regarding other nationalities, et cetera, et cetera. And then once all these requirements have been fulfilled, the application is filed. And once it's processed, the applicant becomes Portuguese citizen, which again opens up the possibilities of moving freely and staying freely in any EU country.
Thank you. And that's like as long as they want, right? They can just
as long as they want, exactly.
Choose any country that they want. That's very, very interesting. Desmond, may I ask you, I know that there are many clients who are already a PR of one jurisdiction. For example, someone is already an Australian PR or someone holds a US green card, right? Relatively, quite a number of them have also applied for the Portugal GV. Do you like to share with us why? Why do they still choose to do this program?
Sure. Well, I guess, you know, if we look at the mobility trend today, and again, this is the statistics that shows 52% of the high net worth is holding more than one passport. So I guess the world is becoming smaller and smaller, and you know, there are so much of you know, there's needs for themselves or even children's are living in one place while parents are living in another country, and this visa do provide or support, you know, them to be able to travel given any situation that's happening, for example with the current pandemic. So our clients came forwards to, and when they look at, you know, the requirements on the residency, and that is very encouraging, number one. Number two, the investment amount relatively is still very reasonable as compared to, for example, UK would require £2 million. New Zealand would require at least 3 million New Zealand dollar, or relatively 5 million. Australia would require 2.5 million or 5 million. So they look at, you know, a combination of the investment opportunity and also the residency requirements without having to spend too much of times, and their confidence, you know, about the you know, the market, the countries. And importantly, you know, one of the programs why we decided to promote this program is also because this is a very highly regulated programs. So what does it mean is generally, you know, the immigration don't simply come out with the changes and then, you know, the next day you find out that, hey, you know, your investment does no longer provide you these residency options. So it doesn't work like that. You know, the whole entire application is supported with a full set and complete set of regulation. So everything is highly regulated. The requirement is clearly defined. So when you are getting into this application, you know exactly, you know, what is the requirements, and we know exactly what it takes for you to be granted. So we are able to provide you with a detailed advice to some extent. So with this a combination of all these reasons, and you know, and client feel that the Portugal Golden Visa is the right entry to the entire Europe. Yes.
Indeed. Thanks, Desmond. That was very clear. I think, Antonio, can you talk about the changes that are coming up on January 2022 and highlight what is the important impact and action that needs to be taken perhaps to avoid these changes for those who are very keen to start the process?
Well, if anyone is keen to start right now, I would definitely advise to do so, because, well, preparation takes time. Opening of a bank account remotely takes time. And therefore, in order to submit the application before the end of the year, if anybody is really thinking about doing so, the time definitely is now. Because again, for the most part, the Golden Visa investors choose the property option. And from those who choose the property option, I would say 90% choose residential. And among the 90% that choose residential, 85% will choose Lisbon, Porto, the major cities. And these will be removed from the eligible areas where residential investment is allowed. You can still buy commercial property in these areas, but not residential. So if you're keen on residential in the main cities, this is the time to act, okay? And then generally, as we've also seen, the thresholds have been raised. So the fund option from 350,000 to 500,000, and the transfer of capital from 1 million to 1.5 million. So in order not to get caught up with the new changes, it is definitely advisable for those of you who might already have made up your minds about moving forward with the Golden Visa program to act and take action now and get the process started.
Sure, thank you. Jamie, since you're taking care of all the investments, what do you think of Antonio's comment on the upcoming legislation changes?
I think it's still possible. I think what's important for clients to first take note is that they need to ask themselves, what is their liquidity like? If their liquidity is ready before the end of the year, then that will open up several options for them. Because in order, I think, just to answer some additional questions regarding the thresholds and so on. So when we talk about 350,000 under the rehabilitation scheme, as I mentioned to you, these are projects that have to be pre-qualified for it to fall under the scheme, and that shows significant improvement. So it doesn't mean that you can buy a product and as in like a home and just put a piece of coat or paint and call it a rehabilitation. So that doesn't work in that sense. So it has to be a significant improvement with works agreement in place and so on. So and projects like this are very limited, and you will need to spend up to a limit of 350,000 euros. Yeah, so in general, I would say a property will cost you more or less at that price already, just to share with you. And based on that liquidity, if you do have the funds available, then you can still make it in that sense for the areas of Lisbon and Porto, because I think these are the areas that will still yield better returns. Now, I think the residency is important, but I think what I also like about the Portuguese Golden Visa is also very flexible, meaning at any point in time, if you're not keen to continue the Golden Visa, you can always just sell and exit your assets, right? So it's actually a good idea in the terms of, and that's why the property real estate option is more popular. It's because it is the most, more or less the most flexible option, because most of the other options are actually locked in for a period of 6 years or 7 years. Whereas a property option, if you do want to do a swap, you can actually do a swap. So you're not, the property you can actually sell and buy something else, or if you don't want to continue the Golden Visa, you can just sell it. So if a client's liquidity is still available, the returns are still much better. We are talking about Airbnb returns for short term are about 7 to 10%, out of which you only pay up to only about from 8.75% tax versus guaranteed returns, which you will need to normally pay 28% of tax on any form of income. So because of that, I would suggest that I still think that due to potential changes, it is still possible, but do choose from also our portfolio of products, which we already pre-qualified in terms of all the contracts and all the due diligence to make sure that they fall under the criteria, and also get all the procedures out of the way, such as a bank account and tax file and so on, so that we can also proceed with the filing as soon as possible. I also wanted to stress on another fact that recently on our latest clients, we realized that due to the pandemic as well, that the local governments are also taking a long time to process the certificate of good conduct. So I think the quick engagement of getting a legal to process and start the tax file and bank account, I think, and also the certificate of good conduct will be a priority. At the same time, we will bring you through the portfolio of products that's already been pre-qualified. This way, we can work very quickly, and this way, for those who are still keen on Lisbon and Porto. Now, if your funds are not available, then the answer is very clear that you either need to look at the interior options of the 280,000 euros options from next year. From here onwards, because that's not affected. Or you will probably have to spend more money next year in the fund investment option, which will then go up to 500,000 euros. So again, I would say when a client is able to, whether they are able to catch the legislation, it's more like when the funds are available, because there's no applications without any investment needs. So it all goes back to the liquidity. And again, this is also something that we could discuss at length and in detail in our private consultations.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. So that's assuring to know that we really need to act fast if we don't want to be impacted by these changes. Desmond, can I get you to speak more about including the family members, right? So what is the flexibility to add the family members along the process? Can it be done, or must it be done from the beginning? Do you mind sharing on that, please?
Sure. Well, this is a very interesting program. First of all, when we talk about adding the family members, and Antonio did mention that it covers 3 generations. So just to share, what are the 3 generations? First of all, parents. And when we talk about parents, which includes in-law. So if your parents or in-law are 65 or above, and they are depending upon you financially, and they can be included in this application, all right? Also, the children's dependents children. And under the law, there's no maximum age, or cap on the age of the dependency. So for example, if let's say your child is at 25 years old, and he's still studying, he or she is still studying, and is still your dependent child, and that can be included, as compared to many other jurisdictions. Relatively, some jurisdictions, for example, United States, capped at 18 years old, Australia capped at 22 years old, which is below 23, and whereas these programs doesn't has the maximum. Now, talking about when can you include them in the application? For example, you are applying, we will decide who is the principal applicants, and we file the applications. And once the principal gotten the pre-approval, and any other family member can be included anytime right after that, from that moment until any times during the 5 years periods. Okay, let's say for example, your parents has not yet reached 65 years old at times when you apply for that visa, but they became 65 2 years down the road, you can always include them or reunify them, when they become 65 years old. So it gives you all the flexibility to decide when you want to include them along the process. of your GV residency status. Yeah, or to a certain extent, you could also choose to naturalize your family member once you become a citizen. In this case, your family member doesn't need to fulfill the GV condition, meaning spending 14 days over the 2 years periods. So you could choose to apply just strictly on your own and consider the, the passport or become the citizen of Portugal, and then bring your other family member with you. Yeah, and that can be, that would also be an option in this case. So what is the advantage of having do so? So you would save, the visa processing fee, the government fee that Antonio mentioned, about 12,000 over the 6 years periods. Yeah, so you will be able to save that much of money if you were to include your family members after that. But do take notes when we talk about naturalize your family member, the children has to be below 18 years old. And so relatively, if your child is 10 years old or 11 years old now, then you do have that window to become a citizen, and then includes your child in the application. But if they are already 15, 16 or 17 or 18 now, right? Then you need to reunify them as one of the golden visa holder. And every one of you complete the 5 years, choose to become a PR or citizen respectively. Okay, and I hope that explained the question.
Yeah, while we're on that, Desmond, what is the oldest age for reunification for an adult dependent child?
There is no maximum age per se, but do take notes at the age of 27, that is the trigger. So there will be more substantive evidence that we need to produce to justify that, the child of 27 years old or more, why, are they genuinely your dependents? So we need to show more evidence and the support. Yeah.
Thank you, Desmond. Antonio, can we include cohabitating partners as part of the reunification process?
Yes, as long as we can prove that they have actually been living together for at least 2 years, then yes. And different sex, same sex, that can be done.
Okay. And can you also share with us what are the challenges of the pandemic at this point of time in terms of someone who's trying to apply now? Are they still required to go to Portugal?
Well, the challenges have to do, of course, with delays in terms of the immigration department allowing the scheduling of appointments for the biometrics, which is not the case now. Latest information we have is that this will resume in October. So people that have been in the waiting line to come into Portugal and get their biometrics done, hopefully from October we can start scheduling these appointments for them.
Desmond, would you like to add on to that as well in terms of, because I understand that the process can begin now, right? In terms of process, would you like to just explain about the timelines again?
Sure. Well, first of all, if we are looking at, the entire processing times from the commencement until the approval, we will generally say around 8 months to 10 months. Okay. Now, to beat the changes, my recommendation is to initiate the process the latest by end of next month, for example, allowing 3 months to complete the bank accounts opening, tax file opening, getting the criminal records checked, and have it legalized in Bangkok, and getting the funds transfer, getting the application ready and file the application. So within that 3 months, there are a lot of works to be done. Yeah. And if the worry or the concern is on when should they be traveling to Portugal, at this point of times, so based upon the clients who has already gotten the approval on hand, the borders is not open. So they are generally waiting for the policy or for the Portuguese governments to open up the border before they can even go over to get the biometrics done. So they already secured all the visa, all the GV. We call this in principle approval. So we already gotten this on hand that says, all this whatever coming up changes on the 1st of July, 1st of January, is no longer impacting their application. And all they do is just wait for the borders to open. So this 6 months, so-called, the 6 months for them to go over to get the biometrics done, is extended according to, the policy, the borders control. So yeah, so we have, quite a number of the clients who already gotten the approval on hand. So basically, this 6 months of window is extended until the borders is open for them to, be traveling over.
Great. Thank you, Desmond. Jamie, would you mind sharing with all of us on how would you be able to assist our clients on the investment options in obtaining the Golden Visa? And at the same time, share with us why is Asia Services different from other providers?
Okay, I think most importantly, what is important that we always look at is that we normally try to understand our clients a little bit more. Being a Golden Visa investor myself, I'm able to actually then share some of the experiences and some of the areas in terms of the investment options, the pros and cons. So we normally will look at the host of investment options. As we said, we are tied up basically with our team in Spain. So we have like at least 40, 50 projects and 20 funds that we represent. So we can look at all the various investment options and then help our clients to basically pre-qualify based on their investment appetite, and then to decide basically what actually works for them, whether they want to have a rental guarantee or are they more interested in Airbnb, whether it's investment first or is it a place to stay. And if it's a place to stay, then we also will see, like, if sometimes they want to buy a place for their children's education, then we choose something near the university. So basically, I think in a nutshell, it is necessary for us to understand the client's requirements. And then what we'll do is we will work with them to actually come up with the options that are applicable for them, that will make the most sense for them. And the other thing is also, we will also show them in advance the due diligence, which is something that a lot of people don't have an access to. We actually have pre-qualified actually all the projects, whether they fall under the 350,000 category or under the 500,000 category, so that when the investor actually makes a decision, we can actually go ahead very quickly because everything has been pre-qualified right down to all the projects, all the contracts in the sales and purchase agreements and so on. The other thing is we also give a one-stop center. I think our vision is actually to create a community of people who are in the whole Portuguese Golden Visa Program. And what we aim to do is actually to help them throughout the entire 5 years of their process. So whether they want to actually sell it later, or whether they want to do a long-term rental, or whether they want to do an Airbnb rental itself, that's actually where we actually come in, or whether they want to furnish it, or whether they want to, whatever they basically want to do with the property, we are there for them throughout the next 5 years. And that's actually our promise to our clients. And I think that's necessary support for people who are buying something that it's much further away and that they are unfamiliar of. So that's where we come in together, our network, to provide that one-stop concierge service for our clients. So that's actually what we can do. And of course, this is also good news for our clients. We are not just any real estate negotiators. What we also do is we actually represent our clients to negotiate for the best deals for our clients. So sometimes in some of our projects, we negotiate for better discounts, and we have done it much better than some of our international competitors, because we have we work directly with the developers, and we are able to have enough experience after having done more than close to about 100 property transactions. We are able to negotiate that actually on behalf of our clients. And we are also sometimes able to even help our clients to get a guarantee on their golden visa. So I think this is quite important because I would say in general, none of the investments will ever say that I guarantee you the golden visa, but we are more than happy to share that we have, based on our experience, some of our partners that we work with are able to help us and assure our clients that they can guarantee that the clients will get their golden visa through the investment options that we give, provided, of course, there's no like negligence on the client's documentation. And this actually has provided a lot of comfort for our investors. And as I said, because for us, our vision is to go through this journey and to build a community of Malaysians and also other nationalities, a community in Portugal together. Thanks.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. That's very clear. So while I have you there, there's a question about what is the average time for renting or selling a property, and how much is the average return for the property?
Okay, I think I will answer the average return first. So if you're talking about Airbnb, because as I mentioned to you, because Portugal is one of the top destinations for tourism, because it's more or less the Bali of Europe. Tourism has done very well. Just to share with you, even my own Airbnb property itself, despite the pandemic, I was surprised that my occupancy rate for this month was actually 85%, right? And that's actually very good considering with the pandemic, because still a lot of Europeans are still traveling, a lot of them are still staying. So because of that, I would say rental yields on average for Airbnb, and it's still between 7 to 10% returns, whereas for long-term yields, we are looking between 3 to 5%. So that's currently the average in terms of rental yield. In terms of capital appreciation, depending on the locations that you purchase, the locations that we normally recommend will still give you an average of at least 5% appreciation, a minimum of 5% appreciation per year. So I think that itself comes with a very good proposition. Now, in terms of long-term rental, as in like how long does it take to rent a property? I would say from personal experience, because I also did long-term with my own property, it didn't take long, probably within 2-3 months, I could do a long-term rental. That wasn't an issue. Of course, this is again dependent on the location, depending on the property and the infrastructure that the property offers and so on. So, but again, like I said, if some of the projects that we have are really very quick in terms of rentals, and we are very confident. And the other thing is also some of the investments that we have already come with a rental package, like rental guarantees. Either that or we've already structured an Airbnb partnership for the short-term management rental. So again, the clients don't need to worry, because like I said, we are already there, and we've more or less handled how we will structure the management of the properties for the next 5 years, all the way till when they get their PR or citizenship.
Right, fantastic. That makes it hassle-free for the clients.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. I think we're running out of time, and we still have some questions that we can't cover everything today, but we will definitely come back to you. Desmond, there's an important question on the medical check requirement, right? How stringent is the medical check requirement for this program, and is there any difference as compared to other residency programs?
Okay, sure. There isn't a medical checkup along the process of this application. Yeah, but according to what Antonio mentioned just now, if you decided to live in Portugal as a local resident, then there is a local insurance that require for you to insure. But if your international insurance has already covered that, then that international insurance can be used and can be considered as, you know, the meeting the necessary requirements. So what does it mean? So for example, if let's say any of you in the family member do have a medical condition, then, you know, Portugal government still welcoming you, and it doesn't, you know, exclude any of the family member, you know, that doesn't meet the health check other countries may have a very stringent health requirements, whereas, these programs generally welcoming everybody in the family member. Yeah, thank you.
I think this is a very, very interesting point, right? Especially when we do Australia, we know that the medical requirements are very, very stringent.
Yes.
Okay.
We often at times, have to, the clients have to drop the idea of a visa should we have some concerns over their medical condition. And it is very, it is such a good news to see how this Portugal Golden Visa do facilitate every one of you in the family members to gain the residency and to be able to live despite, you might have some medical condition. Yeah.
Antonio, can I just get you to add on to that? Would you be able to share on the price range or for this medical insurance? Sorry, Antonio, you're muted.
Yes, sorry. Well, that will depend basically on age, previous medical conditions, etc. And of course, family members, that would all be part of the general quote of the insurance company. And mind you, you can also choose from different degrees of protection or coverage. Okay, so you have obviously a lower monthly fee with less coverage, and then you can progress and include a little more, depending on how much you would like to, how much coverage you would like to see. Generally speaking, middle-aged person with a good coverage, we might be looking at around €50 per month.
Oh, if you don't mind me adding, so when I first joined the Golden Visa, at that point in time, they did ask for the medical insurance. I was 40 then, so I took the basic package. So as Antonio said, that the coverage that he mentioned, that's actually for, I think, a more detailed, all-encompassing package. But I took the basic, and that actually costed me €200 a year. So I think the good news is that I think you don't really need, it's up to you how comprehensive you want it to be, but it can go as low, I guess, in a way, to €200. But again, that was also based on a few years ago rate. And but I thought I'll just share that the good news is that they don't force you on how comprehensive it has to be, as long as you have any form of coverage, as Desmond mentioned, or even the international insurance like Bupa and all those will also cover. Yeah.
Sure. And the reason why we don't have to get it too comprehensive is because there's already an entitlement by the government, right, for health. Right, Jamie? Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
All right. Okay, sure. Okay, interesting. So I think I think it's high time we need to conclude this session. One of the most important takeaways from this is it's not too late yet. If you're ready to start, it's not too late yet. Please contact us. There's a number on the screen. We are more than happy to set up a private consultation with you to really study your exact situation and come up with the best solution according to your family's needs. So please either WhatsApp us or email us. At the same time, can I just get Desmond, Jamie, and Antonio to just give a few words before we end the session, please?
Sure. Jamie, ladies first.
I think I wanted to add the fact that for some of us, actually, one of the reasons why I chose the Portuguese Golden Visa was actually really a plan B option that doesn't require me to actually relocate and doesn't, and for me, actually, that's why it's important that we normally will sit down with our clients and we go through so much numbers, the Excel sheets and the accounting and so on. We do everything for them, right? To just show them a business plan that basically what's important is that your investment actually generates money, it will give you a good rental yield. So even if you choose not to continue with the residency, even just as an investment alone, it's actually a good enough investment. And I would say it has actually topped some of my other investments, and I'm actually very pleased to say that the investments in Portugal actually has really done well for us. So I would like to urge the clients to look at that perspective itself, that the residency can be a bonus in addition to the investment. So the investment must make sense. So you're not just buying a residency, you're buying an investment that makes you money, that doesn't tie you down, that gives you a residency in exchange. And the good thing is, amongst all the residencies that we've looked at, I'm really pleased, I said, because investment-wise, it's been positive. And in addition to that, I would say it's also it's now one of the top residency programs, and that one should not wait until you don't have a choice to make a rush decision. So we have seen in Hong Kong, right, how people were rushing suddenly to make a residency decision, and I've met so many clients at that point in time, they were really in such haste in making a decision. So I think it's always better to make a decision in advance. And I say, as long as the investment makes sense, as one of my clients said, it's just about changing your portfolio to another portfolio, right? And at the same time, as long as that portfolio makes money, and you get the bonus of the residency that you don't need to relocate and tie you down, I think it's definitely, the Portuguese Golden Visa is definitely something that everyone should consider in that sense. Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.
Antonio, would you like to give your last words? Yeah.
Well, I would like to simply stress the numerous advantages in terms of family reunification, the tax aspect, the fact that you're buying freehold properties and there are no restrictions in terms of either buying or selling for foreigners. And also the flexibility of the program itself, meaning you can, come in and leave or fulfill with relative ease all of these requirements. So when you consider the whole proposition, it makes a lot of sense on many counts: the immigration aspect, the property aspect, the tax aspect. So again, right now, before jumping into or getting caught in the changes of the program start January 2022, I would say maybe we're right now on last call to benefit from the current from the current requirements to invest in the program.
Thank you, Antonio. Now, in my opinion, I think these programs give a lot of possibility to you and your family member. And especially if you're not ready to move over yet, you're not certain where your children's, is going to be in the future. And these programs, is just a very good alternative and a backup plans for you and your family members. We have seen clients, for example, these programs helps the daughter to land up with a job, in one of the countries, despite the daughter's study in UK, but, ended up having a visa in UK is so difficult. And after they finish the study, and these programs serve the purpose and keeping the child, in Europeans. So this is really, a programs that open up to a lot of the possibility. Yeah. And I hope that, you find this session, every one of you find this session to be informative. And please to share all this with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you once again, Desmond, Jamie, and Antonio. Thanks everyone for staying through the entire session. Stay safe. Have a great weekend and do get in touch with us at the soonest. All right. Thanks everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Bye.
Bye.